The rain pounded on the glass like an impatient drummer, and James Carter, one of the city's most powerful CEOs, was in no mood for anything less than silence. His phone was blowing up with texts about a last-minute deal, his assistant was droning on about the next morning's meetings, and his headache felt like a vice clamped around his skull. When his sleek black SUV pulled up, James yanked the door open, slid into the back seat, and prepared to drown himself in work. But before he could even pull his laptop from his leather briefcase, a small, sharp voice cut through the air. "Shut up." The words hit him like cold water. He blinked and looked across the seat. Sitting there, barely tall enough for her feet to touch the floor, was a little black girl in a faded yellow raincoat. Her braids were half undone, her socks didn't match, and she clutched a stuffed bunny so worn it looked like it had survived a war. "Excuse me?" James said, incredulous. "I said shut up," she repeated, her dark eyes unflinching. "You talk too much." James froze. No one, not his board members, not his competitors, not even his ex-wife, spoke to him like that. His driver, an old family employee named Gerald, glanced at him in the rearview mirror but kept driving. "Gerald," James demanded, "why is there a child in my car?" Gerald's voice was quiet. "We had to make a stop, sir." "I'll explain." James was ready to snap, until he noticed the girl's hands. They were trembling, not from cold, but from something else. Fear. They drove in tense silence for several minutes until Gerald pulled into a dimly lit parking lot behind a rundown community center. The girl leaned her head against the window, staring at the rain, ignoring James entirely. Finally, Gerald spoke. "Her name's Maya. She's 7. I promised her mama I'd bring her here tonight. The shelter has a spot for them, but her mama's still at work. Night shift at the hospital. She asked me to watch Maya for a bit." James frowned. "Why is she in my car?" Gerald met his eyes in the mirror. "Because she wouldn't get in unless you came too." James didn't understand, until they were sitting in the back of the community center, waiting. Maya was coloring on a scrap piece of paper. Her lines were rough, chaotic, but the picture was clear: a little girl, a hospital bed, and someone lying very still beneath a blanket. James cleared his throat. "That's nice." She looked up, unimpressed. "It's not nice. It's my daddy. He died last week. He was in a car accident." The bluntness stole his breath. "I'm sorry." She shrugged like it didn't matter, but her lips trembled. "You sound like everybody else." "Sorry. He's in a better place. I don't care. I just want him back." James swallowed hard. He remembered being her age. He remembered the night the police came to tell him his own father had been shot during a robbery. The hollow ache in his chest, the way every adult's words felt like paper trying to cover a hole in the earth. And suddenly, the "shut up" made sense. She didn't want pity. She wanted quiet. The kind of quiet where pain could breathe without being smothered by platitudes. Over the next hour, something strange happened. James didn't check his phone. He didn't talk about business. He didn't give her advice. He just sat and listened. Maya told him about her daddy teaching her how to skip rocks at the lake, about the way he'd pretend her stuffed bunny could talk, about the promise he made to take her to the zoo for her birthday. She said it all like she was afraid she'd forget if she didn't say it out loud. When her mom finally arrived, exhausted and teary-eyed, Maya clung to James's hand. "You're not like the other grown-ups," she said softly. "You listened." He didn't know what to say. That night, lying in his penthouse with the city lights glittering below, James realized something. For years, he'd been chasing deals, numbers, and power, convinced that listening was a waste of time. But in one rainy car ride, a little girl with a broken heart had taught him that sometimes silence is the most powerful thing you can give. The next day, James called Gerald. "Take me to the community center," he said. And he kept going back. Not as a CEO, not as a donor looking for publicity, but as a man who knew the value of sitting in quiet solidarity with someone else's pain. Months later, Maya gave him a new drawing. This one had 3 figures, her mama, and him. All holding hands. Above them was a crooked sun with too many rays. "It's us," she said. "We're okay now." James smiled, the kind of real smile he hadn't felt in years. Because for the first time in his life, he wasn't just rich in money. He was rich in something that actually mattered. Moral: sometimes, the greatest act of kindness isn't in what we say, but in being present enough to say nothing at all.